Hey everyone, this is Kelly Thompson. You're listening to Dawn of X.
Dawn of X, it is finally here, finally solicited, and finally announced to the rest of the world that it is going to come back. Marvel was gracious enough to reprint not only the House of X Powers of 10 hardcover, but they are also going to be putting out a Dawn of X anthology omnibus labeled appropriately the X-Men Age of Krakoa Dawn of X Omnibus Volume 1. But before we go into that, I have a couple of things to talk about before I break down every single detail of this specific collection. Krakoa is simply the status quo of the X-Men from 2019 to 2024, or I guess you could talk about the living island that every single mutant has lived on, kicking itself with the House of X Powers of 10 by Jonathan Hickman, Pepe Larraz, and R.V. Silva. Dawn of X specifically refers to the 2019 relaunch line of comics after Powers of 10 number 6 that includes all the titles that I will be talking about later in this video. This of course includes X-Men by Jonathan Hickman, issues 1 through 11, Marauders 2019 1 through 12, Excalibur 2019 1 through 12, New Mutants 2019 1 through 12, X-Force 2019 1 through 12, Fallen Angels 2019 1 through 6, Wolverine 2020 1 through 5, Cable 2020 1 through 4, Hellions 1 through 4, X Factor 2020 1 through 3, and Empire X-Men number 1 through 4. There are a couple of series that are not in there that I also will be talking about later in this video. This omnibus is specifically for every reader who is looking for an oversized reading experience with everything according to then X-Men executive editor Jordan D. White's curated reading order. So what are the contents in this omnibus and what am I going to be talking about? Well, this omnibus is retailing at $150 for 1,472 pages of content. In Volume 1, you will be getting issues X-Men 2019 1 through 7, X-Force 2019 1 through 8, Marauders 2019 1 through 8, Excalibur 2019 1 through 8, Fallen Angels 2019 1 through 6, New Mutants 1 through 7, New Mutants 2019 1 through 7, Wolverine 2020 Story A from issue 1 and then issues 2 and 3, and Giant Size X-Men Jean Grey and Emma Frost number 1. So why are we talking about this, and why has this been something that people have been asking for since it feels like the beginning of time? Dawn of X trade paperbacks were already a thing in practice set before, and a lot of people were asking, well, if they put this into trade paperback, why couldn't they put this into a hardcover? And what are those trade paperbacks that you're talking about? Well, the Dawn of X trade paperbacks were printed to give people a sense and sampling of titles that were coming out at the time, which managed to do extraordinarily better than anticipated. Don't take it from me, take it from Jonathan Hickman, the head of X himself.
The fans of the X-Men books aren't buying variant covers. They're buying digital comic books that they are actually reading. The same thing is true about like those trades that we did. Like I wanted to do Shonen Jump for the X-Men line. I wanted to do cheap, disposable trades. It was just like you bought the magazine. You didn't know which issues were going to be in there, right? You just bought the magazine every month, and maybe X-Men would be in there, maybe X Factor would be in there, whatever. You got the Shonen Jump version of the X-Men, and I wanted to do it, and I wanted them to be $9.99 trades. I wanted them to be cheap, like completely disposable. Marvel said, no, we're going to charge a premium. But what was fascinating is that the price didn't matter. Those things are crazy successful for what they are. I thought they were going to fail. As soon as they told me what the price was going to be, I was like, damn it, that sucks, because I really wanted to try this experiment and see if it would work, right? But it did. Now, I think it probably would have worked even better if we would have made it the truly disposable version of it. But there are people who only read the X-Men books digitally or in those trades, and it's fascinating. Those things, that is not reflected in the sales or the normal manner in which we do North American comics. And so I think that I think that there are a lot of things that would work that we do not do, and we do not give a chance, because we've just decided that we're just going to make comics as fast and as hard as we can, and we're going to do a shitload of variants.
So listening to that, and also other interviews that he's done on Off Panel, it's clear that he wanted the Shonen Jump type of experience for people to be coming in, and a lot of people, believe it or not, were getting their comics digitally, and that is how they were getting them. They were getting through with digital sales of those Dawn of X trades that allowed people an easier way to slip in to this era. And it is something that we have been sort of dealing with, the industry at least shifting towards some of that aspect, with people wanting to read digital first or digital only as opposed to a physical experience, because we have iPads and we want to be able to use them. There were 16 Dawn of X trade paperbacks in all, and this specific first omnibus is collecting everything from volumes 1 through 8 of the Dawn of X line. If we are going to be taking that, in fact, we're going to be seeing volume 2 of this omnibus, if it ever comes out, collect every single part of the material in volumes 9 through 16 of the trade paperback anthology line. Dawn of X volumes 1 through 6 appropriately collects the first 6 issues of each volume in the order of X-Men, Marauders, Excalibur, New Mutants, X-Force, and Fallen Angels. So think of you're getting issue 1 of all of those 6 titles, and then issue 2, etc. Now, I also do have to note that X-Men issues 4 through 6 were in the back of volumes 4 through 6, like I'm talking about in terms of mapping. You read those issues last, because those issues were delayed due to the passing away of inker and illustrator Jerry Alangian, who was the primary inker for Lionel Francis Yu for much of his career. We saw this with X-Men number 4 being pushed to the 1st of January 2020, and then X-Men issues number 5 and 7 getting a big delay as well. We also saw Powers of 10 illustrator R.B. Silva along with Matteo Buffagni filling out on specific issues 5 and 6 due to Lionel Francis Yu having to shift away some of the art duties once again to Jerry Alangian's death, passing away. All the other titles that were coming out at this time, like Marauders and Fallen Angels and Excalibur, were unaffected by it and still went on schedule. It's just that X-Men was the one that was lagging behind now. We can also see this as Dawn of X volumes 7 and 8 again are also going to be collected in this, and you can see on the right that we do have specific issues that are going to be two-parters that are tied in and collected next to each other. So for example, if you are reading Excalibur, you're going to see the Excalibur two-parter with Wilton Santos on art being collected together or mapped together instead of having all of those separately. So you will still have a semblance of at least some reading order. It's not like you're going to be getting, oh, here's 4 or 5 issues of Excalibur. You're getting little itsy bits and snippets from specific issues and titles of said issues concurrently along with each other. So you are going to get a broken up reading experience, but the jumping around from title to title is what made me, and a lot of other people, at least during this era, very jumpy and very quick to the nose in terms of the reading experience. So I will be reading a Hickman X-Men issue, and the next thing you know, X-Force is out there in the South American jungles fighting off. It's a lot of fun. Again, it's not an experience for everybody, but that is going to be the experience you are getting with this Dawn of X Omnibus. We can see that in volumes 9 through 16, which is, again, most likely how they will map this specific omnibus. This is the experience that you're going to get. You are going to get even more bouncing around from title to title because you have new titles like Wolverine and Cable being introduced into the fold. And then you also have, again, some of those specific stories that have 1 to 3 issues that are next to each other, because that is the way that a lot of these story arcs are done. It's not just, wow, here's one specific story arc from issue 7 through 12. And while some titles definitely have that, like for example, the way that they integrate Empire and the Empire tie-ins, you have X-Men 10, Empire X-Men 1 through 4, and then X-Men 11 all in there, you still get a sense of reading every single title concurrently and moving from title to title and bit by bit. And also do realize that, at least for volume 16, we are going to be ending on Excalibur issue number 12, which is what I want to get into, which is how do we map out the rest of this era of X-Men? What after Dawn of X? We still have the 10 of Swords event that literally changed the trajectory of mutant kind. This was supposed to be a lot smaller, and they bumped it up to a 23 issue parter. I will also add that X-Men number 12 is tossed in this specific hardcover. It's not in the regular Dawn of X trade paperback. So for people who are wondering if you're buying X-Men Volume 2 by Jonathan Hickman, or if you're buying the Dawn of X anthology trade paperbacks, you should have been getting this hardcover or trade paperback instead, whatever your point of preference is, because that is in fact the quote-unquote prelude to the event of the 2020 summer. Because we have seen Marvel completely downsize a lot of their oversized hardcovers, I can see them rebranding Ten of Swords as an omnibus, as it does have more than enough pages and also an issue count to warrant itself as one. You could just add the Ten of Swords handbook along with the free Comic Book Day X-Men 2020 issue that came out that year. You then have the era move into Reign of X and then Trials of X, which did continue in that trade paperback anthology series that they had, and it stops at Trials of X volume number 12. Panini did pick this up in their own set anthology trade paperbacks in Europe under the Destiny of X banner, a little bit of different orientation on the text of the cover, but they still released them nonetheless. And that's when you get into Destiny of X, which is the era after Hickman leaves, Fall of X, and then Fall of the House of X, Rise of the Powers of 10, which is already releasing in omnibus form. And I already talked about it on my channel, so if you're looking to watch a video after this or click to it to see my full thoughts on it, please check that video out. And then Sabretooth War, at least the omnibus for it, is also not collected in this specific omnibus. And what I mean by that is the Fall of House of X, Rise of the Powers of 10 omnibus. One thing to note about the Fall of House of X, Rise of the Powers of 10 omnibus is that Sabretooth War is not collected in here. If you are already buying everything in said format, I would suggest buying this as well, as this is the material that is not collected in the Fall of the House of X, Rise of the Powers of 10 omnibus, and by that I mean Wolverine issues 41 through 50. It might, however, be in future anthology omnibuses, as Sabretooth, the 2022 series, is collected in the Trials of X trade paperbacks. And you might be asking, Dom, you left out a couple of issues earlier on in this video. I did, and I wanted to get to them here. What is missing from this omnibus? Before I get to the series, there are two specific things that must be in this omnibus because I remember complaining back in 2020, these weren't in them. Those are two issues. The first one is the material from Incoming number 1, which is a story drawn by R.B. Silva and written by Jonathan Hickman, which was also in X-Men Volume 1 by Jonathan Hickman, trade paperback. This is the lead-up and prelude to what Franklin Richards' future might be in Krakoa. Yes, I know that it got stomped on pretty quickly by Dan Slott, and also R.B. Silva, who did draw that arc of Fantastic Four. I still want that in there, so people can experience the ooze that just came out of me with the hype surrounding that plot thread from Powers of 10.
What did he say?
And next up, we do have Marvel Comics issue 1000, which is a short story again by Jonathan Hickman and Dustin Weaver. It's kind of unfortunate that Dustin Weaver didn't get a chance to draw any of the titles in this specific era of X-Men. The most that he did were covers to X-Force, but nonetheless, I'm glad that we at least got something in there. And then the two stories or two series that I do want added at some point, just to make the Omnis feel meatier, as Marvel tends to do with a lot of their mapping of these collected editions, are X-Men Fantastic Four 2021 through 4 by Chip Zdarsky and Terry Dodson, which continues along that plot thread of Franklin Richards, although it isn't edited or under the Krakoan banner at all. It wasn't in the back of the issues, and it wasn't in the marketing that was under the X-Men banner. And then Juggernaut issues 1 through 5 from the 2020 series by Fabian Nicieza and Ron Garney. Now, the first question is, should I buy this omnibus? Should I actually go out there, spend my hard-earned money, $150 plus tax wherever you might live, or differently? Yes. I know that everybody is going to be going bananas over this, and I anticipate that this will be one of Marvel's best-selling omnibuses this year to go along with March's release of the heavily anticipated and Ascenti Daredevil Omnibus Volume 1. Are you looking to read everything that was published under the Hickman, Jordan D. White X-Men office from 2019 to 2024? Yes. This is the best optimized and curated way to read this era with characters that you know and love in completely different settings, along with a diverse array of stories, talent, and illustrations. Superheroes? You got it. Black market politics? Got it. Mysteries? Got it. Comedy? Got it. Coming of age? Got it. This entire era of X-Men has plot threads that will keep you on your toes, wanting for more. I'm on the fence. Should I still support this, even if I'm not interested in reading every single title? Yes. This is, in due course, the larger Dawn of X Volume 1 trade paperback trial that they started so many years ago on a much larger scale. We have seen Marvel over the years opt out of doing volume numbers for omnibuses and marketing towards a different title name. Take, for example, the Ed Brubaker Captain America run, Wolverine by Jason Aaron, and most recently, Phoenix Volume 2 to Phoenix, the death and return, or rebirth I guess I should say, of Jean Grey. It's also clear that as the market trickles back down to pre-pandemic numbers, companies might be taking less risk with books that straggle people's wallets more than the smaller volumes that you get at your local comic shop or whatever retailer that you buy from. Don't let that dissuade you. If you want this book, and if it speaks to you even just a little bit in some manner, pre-order it. Now, I do have a couple of tips and tricks that I want to be able to give to anybody who is watching this, and this might be your first omnibus. One of them is a little bit more general, and the two are specific to this anthology line. Unless you need the money right now, do not sell what is in your collection. Anything can happen with these books. These can be remapped, these can be canceled and opted in for something else. Dates shift and change. Publishers change their course of action. Don't be the person who sold your entire Ten of Swords hardcover for something that you were trying to get off your shelf if they decide to skip Ten of Swords completely. They could put this in a random other book. They also might just not opt to print it out regardless. They could do the same for Inferno, the Hellfire Gala, whatever that might be. Do not, until we nearly get it in print, it's solicited, and you can order it from whatever retailer or local comic shop you have, don't sell anything. Secondly, buy the Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of 10 omnibus if you are going to be in support of these anthology omnibuses. If you are an X-Men fan and if you are a collected edition reader trying to buy these books, I would suggest also picking that up to let Marvel know that people are still interested in reading Krakoa from start to finish, all in tow. And optional, look into purchasing the Wolverine Sabretooth 4 Omnibus if you are a complete reader. You will inevitably double dip with the Reign of X Omnibus if they ever publish those Age of Krakoa omnibuses, but if they stop right before the Fall of the House of X, you do not want to be stuck in the mud, uncollected Sabretooth and Sabretooth and the Exiles miniseries that are in this omnibus and are the lead up to the final story by Benjamin Percy and Victor Laval.
If you haven't yet, check out our website, comicreleases.com, my and Webhead's love letter to comics, a hotspot where you can finally figure out what's coming out, when, from what place. Our unique upcoming website tracker in the Collected Editions tab makes sure that you're on top of every single collected edition coming out on the market with release date updates to the minute, from the tiniest graphic novels to the giant Generator Deluxe hardcovers as large as an absolute. Our unique spreadsheet not only gives out the most accurate information out there, but our format also filters and ensure that you can find your books as quickly as possible. The tracker also gives out links to domestic and international retailers so that you can purchase your comic books at the snap of a finger. We are also proud to host monthly solicitations as per given by the publishers that generously send us information to give to you all. From the Ultimate Universe to the creator-loved Oceans and Universes, we specialize in giving you the most readable format of solicitations without any of the annoying advertisements. If you also donate to our Patreon at just $2 a month, which is less than a coffee at Starbucks, you will receive access to a special watch list dedicated to individually tracking items that are on your wish list, past or present. Place in your tracking number and make sure that these books also not only come in safe, you can even put in special comments on these as well. On top of that, your name will also show up at the end of every single Dawn of X video creates as a huge thank you. That is comicreleases.com. For more information, check this out down in the description. If you also want to contact me or Webhead, check the contact forms down in the description or email me down in the description.
But that's going to be it for me in this video. I hope that this sort of helps you figure out which and what and who to buy. I know that there was a lot of information, but I have a lot of fun making these videos and editing these videos. So let me know in the comment section down below if I convinced you to buy it, if you are still going to buy it regardless, or what your opinion is on these types of anthology omnibuses. If you prefer to read some of these eras with just one writer or one creative team or one character, or if you want to get it all, let me know down in the comment section below. And also, real quick, Should I open up a Discord? It seems like everybody nowadays in my vicinity has one, but I do want to have a cool mini hub that's concentrated on my own branding, not my websites, opening up a book club, a spot to talk about comics, releasing a schedule in due time. It'd be honestly great. And if not, my community tabs aren't such a bad thought in terms of bringing news to guys out. Just want to maybe do a little bit better in terms of scheduling, but let me know in the comment section down below also if I should do it. That's going to be it for me. I am Dom of X. You be you. Take care. Dominate the day wherever you go.